Welcome back to the Intentional Household Podcast. I am Laura Wilson. The holidays can be one of the most joyful times of the year, but let's be honest, they can also bring a lot of stress, especially when it comes to money. If we're not intentional about planning, it's easy to find ourselves overspending in the moment and dealing with that financial hangover come January. That's why I'm so excited to have a returning guest on today's episode, Adam Rivers. Adam is a financial expert and owner of Rivers Wealth. Adam's here to help us navigate one of the most important parts of the season, creating and communicating a holiday budget as a couple. We're going to break down how you and your partner can get on the same page, set realistic limits, and enjoy the holidays with more peace of mind and less stress about what's happening in your bank account. Adam, welcome back. You're our first returning guest, so it's great to have you here again.
Yeah, good to be back.
So today we're talking about holiday budgeting and planning for any shopping or holiday spending coming up. I'm really good at planning when it comes to determining what I'm going to purchase, but I actually don't generally do the budgeting part. So let's get into it and talk about why it's important to start with budgeting.
Yeah, sounds good. Again, that word budgeting, I think, scares a lot of people. And we talked about that last time I was here. And I think talking in terms of allocating spending, right? Is a better way. So spending allocations. And as we kind of approach this year, it's a transitional time. You're approaching the holidays, the new year. It's a good time to look back on your spending allocations or budget. And hopefully there should be a line item there for the holidays. So it's a good time ahead of time to revisit that. Does it seem reasonable? Too low, too high? So good time to sit down with your partner or your family and go through how we want to allocate the holiday spending.
It's actually a great point to talk about sitting down with your partner and having this discussion, because usually holiday shopping starts and then partners, they just go. They take off running and they're not actually sitting down together. And even if one person may have a budget in mind, most often I imagine a lot of partners aren't coming together to do this step first.
I think coming together before things get rolling is really crucial. So both, partners feel engaged and involved. Sometimes one partner will get ahead, start spending. The other person's kind of like, well, you've done everything and I don't feel involved or engaged in the whole process, or like I had a say. So I think having that sit down early on, allocate, go through all the family members, discuss how much are you going to be entertaining, how much is that going to be costing, decorations, go through everything and get a kind of total. How does that look versus the line item in your budget? Adjust if you need to, and then go into the season feeling confident that you guys are being intentional with how much you want to spend per family member, how much you want to spend on entertaining, on decorations, on travel, and then you can enjoy the season and not have that guilt factor.
I think quite often we come out of the holidays having gifted all of those items and then realize January hits and the credit cards may be maxed out. And then it's like, oh, wait, I didn't anticipate that now I may have to be signing up for camp. I may have to spend money toward X, Y, and Z as well that I didn't anticipate. So really coming up with the plan with your partner isn't just about protecting your wallet, but it's really about providing clarity, reducing any sort of stress or tension between the two partners as well. So if we were going to, let's just say Alex and I were going to come up with a plan for holiday spending, what's the first step?
Well, I think we mentioned it as sitting down, right? And again, revisiting your budget. I mean, you should have a sense of how much in a year. I think a lot of people get fixated on, weekly, monthly credit card bills and those short-term cash flows. And there's going to be fluctuations through the year. And this is a big, a big spike generally in expenditures this season, right? And as we roll into New Year, and then you're thinking about camps, which come in February, but also if you think about it in the fall, there's big expenditures for families with young kids on activities. Into the new year, you're looking at summer activities. So it's a big cash outflow year, time of the year. But if you're looking at like an annual basis, you should have a good sense of how much money are we bringing in, how much are we spending, and having confidence in that number, and how much do we want to save, right? And so it's a good time in the year to kind of reflect on your spending. Look at your credit card bills, look at your bank statements. How much actually have we spent this year? How much have we brought in? How much have we spent? And how much are we looking to save? In the new year, we're looking at RRSP season. So making allocations there. So it's just generally a nice time of year where, you're transitioning, you're reflecting on the past year, and looking forward. And it's a good time to refine some of those larger line items, right? Like holiday spending, like kids' activities, summer camps, and getting a good sense of your spending into the new year. So again, the holiday spending, it's one line item. I mean, it should be a relatively small line item in most households' spending.
Okay.
So, I don't know if this is a situation where how much do you think you spend on the holidays?
That's a really good question, because if I'm thinking about it, I would be fearful of putting everything down. And if I, in my head, were to do a tally of what I had spent, I imagine I am only tracking or calculating a small fraction of the total spending that I'm doing, right? I'm probably thinking of the gifts that I'm purchasing for my kids, but then there's gifts for extended family members or other people who are supporting us. There's the food, maybe travel. There are so many different decorations, any outings. There are so many different factors that I think I often don't add to the true cost.
Yeah. And I think that can be the case with a lot of different line items in a budget, right? Where people will account for 70 to 80% of it and then and miss a lot. And then so you're under allocating and maybe thinking you should be saving more. But having an honest and doing a look back and kind of sanity check on your budget.
Yeah, I can see how the reflection part is missing because, like you're saying, if households are doing any household budgeting, and you and I had talked about that in a previous episode, they might have that line item for holiday spending. But then when the holidays actually start, they may have actually forgotten that they have that line item. And so it's going back to see what you have allocated for the holidays. And actually, thus far in the year, how are you doing compared to what you set as the goal? And if your spending if you've spent more than what you anticipated elsewhere, then you need to make adjustments. And then also just tracking it, right? Because that's a part that is just not happening. I'm tracking in my head, but it's me alone. And most likely in my tally, Alex's spending isn't going into that.
Right. And so that's important is to bring in, both the spending. Households set up in different ways. Some couples keep to their lanes and it's very separated. Some are very integrated, right? And only use joint accounts. So it depends on the setup, and that's just a personal preference. I see a lot of different setups. But again, it's I think helpful to look back at the larger budget, seeing where the holiday spending lies. Every family's different, right? Some families might be operating at their natural rate of surplus or savings is much higher than others. Some are kind of, not they're kind of tighter, right? So that becomes more important, right? So there's some situations that require more diligence, right,
Yes.
than others.
Yeah.
So, but I think even if there is that, a situation where it requires less diligence, it's still good to know to be intentional, just to even how much should we be spending on the kids as a couple from a values perspective. Do we want to spend this much? Does that feel right? How did we feel last holiday season? Right?
Yes. Yes. Well, I was going to say, I think that whether you really have to watch your dollar or you're a billionaire, everyone should be operating on a budget, right? And so everyone should have an amount in mind that they want to stay within.
Right.
And track that and see how they did at the end of the year or at the end of the holiday season. And really think about, how is it that you want to feel at the end of the holiday season when you've celebrated with your family and you've made all these purchases, you've given all these gifts to loved ones. How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel joy and happiness? Or do you want to feel stressed that, oh man, I gave, yes, the recipients were happy and appreciative, but I'm really stressed. And now how am I going to survive for the next year because I'm in serious debt over my over purchasing? So if we are going to start the holiday planning together, how can we do this so that we stay on the same page?
So, again, so you sat down. I think you need to go through, create a line by line budget. Each kid, how much do we want to spend? What do they want for the holidays, or and then I think figuring out a way to track it, right, and make sure that you're staying on the budget. I think also needing to have flexibility and being realistic that things might end up costing more than you originally did, and not to beat yourself up too much. It depends on the magnitude. I think it's remembering this might be 2% of your overall household spending in a year, right? So if it goes over by 20%, hopefully that's not going to have a huge impact on things. I think there's a real need to keep the bigger picture here, right? I know it's we want to be vigilant with spending and keeping things in check. I think a lot of it is people feeling that short-term hangover in the new year and not feeling great. It just the amount of spending, consumerism that kind of takes over the holidays. So, not that it's going to put you guys in a lot of households in dire straits. It's just there's a spike in spending. It should smooth out in other parts of the year. And taking a look back on your annual spending allocation, it is generally a relatively small line item, right? Compared to the mortgage, compared to groceries and food, right? Kids' activities.
Okay, great.
So keeping that
if I overspend, that's
keeping
okay.
in that context, yeah. But I think, I don't think it's going to put you in a dire financial situation, but it's how you feel about it, right? I think it's going back to being, intentional household, being intentional about the spending, having a plan, and that'll help you kind of stick to it before you kind of get caught up in the craziness of holiday sales and Prime Day and Black Friday and all that stuff that, can kind of overtake people. Some people.
Yes. And I imagine, so for me, and I'm thinking about how my husband operates, thinking about what kind of tools can we use to work together. So I think if we had a sheet, he wouldn't look at the sheet. I'm thinking like a Google sheet. But if I just had something as simple as a shared note on our phone, then if we put everything down there and then record, am I purchasing it or is he? Then at least we can see any, refer back to that easily. And then if any changes have been made, then he can look at that quickly rather than coming up with this plan, say on paper, and then, or a sheet that he will just never use. And if he's out at a store and he's like, oh, like I should get this, he can refer back to something very easily that's accessible. So I imagine that there are other apps that families could use, but I think the one that you're both going to access would be the best for a couple.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So for you, do you and Tatiana use any sort of app that allows you to track your spending?
Yeah. We use an app called Monarch Money. A few of my clients use it. Some have tried to use it, and I think it's a real personal preference,
Okay.
what the usability, whether people are actually going to engage with the app. So yeah, Monarch Money is good. You can set a budget for the holiday season, whether it's X thousands of dollars, and you can tag the purchases as they come in, and it'll notify you if, how you're doing versus budget if you've gone over.
Okay.
So just that's one other tool.
Okay. Oh, that's great. I love that. Because I know that I don't love a lot of stuff coming into the household. And so I'm very mindful of the purchases that I make. But then again, lack of communication. Alex has his own plan and he gets carried away and he has a vision. And then we end up with a ton of stuff because we've ended up with twice the amount of stuff and then over purchasing.
So yeah, I missed a step with the Monarch Money. You can connect all your credit cards, all your checking accounts.
Oh, wow.
Both. So if you are using the app, going in, making sure all the accounts that you will be using to purchase holiday items is linked, and then it'll capture everything. Right?
Okay.
So there's no hiding.
And it makes everything easier because now you don't have to personally look at all these different spreadsheets from your various accounts, bring them together. The work is all done for you. And again, there's no, let's say, hiding.
Exactly.
Or there's no surprises from when I have made the purchases.
More accountability.
Yes.
I think it's going in, being open to having conversations about purchasing that can get tricky, I think, sometimes with a lot of couples, right? Where there's defensiveness, if there's
definitely, yeah.
So another thing that I think is just like holiday parties too, right? People don't account for that, like with friends, work, this, that, like it can add up.
Exactly. That's something that I wouldn't factor in because there are a lot of parties, lots of consumption, and that's not going into the budget quite often. That's I think it's overlooked or it's put in a different category. So really being mindful of capturing everything. If we're being realistic and actually doing this planning, when would you say is an appropriate time to reflect on the budget for holiday spending and really sit down with the plan with our partner before the season takes off?
So I would say just holiday spending, once you kind of get comfortable with how you're going to approach that, you're comfortable with what's in your budget. I think it's also a good time to just, if you're sitting down, having a conversation about finances, is to reflect on the year and your overall financial plan, right? So a big piece of that is saving and investing, right, for your goals. Into the new year, you're going to be looking at RSP season. Hopefully, you should have an idea of how much each of you want to allocate saving wise to your RSPs, to your TFSAs, your registered accounts, to RESPs. Grandparents might be giving gifts to the kids, cash gifts. A lot of times I see a lot of families where they receive gifts from family members and allocate some of it to their RESPs. So I think taking a step back, how have we done on the spending front throughout the year? Is it kind of roughly in line with what we expected? If that's the case, given incomes we're earning, we should be saving this much. This is how we wanted to be allocating it. And maybe it's on track, maybe it's not. Find out why it's not. Maybe make adjustments, just so you kind of feel confident going into the season, a holiday season, and into the new year.
When would you do it? like November?
Like a review of your financial plan
Mhm.
in general. I think if you're sitting down having a discussion about holiday spending, yeah, I think November is a good time, right?
Okay.
You're kind of finishing off the year. It's a good transitional period. You're talking about spending in general with the holidays. So yeah, it's a good time.
It's a good point you make about almost anticipating what your kids will be receiving in terms of monetary gifts
Mhm.
so that you can use that or some of it toward RESPs or
Mhm.
whatnot. Because
Yeah.
generally, I think we can anticipate how much they might be getting from family members, but that's something that Alex and I don't do, or I don't do at least. It's
Mhm.
not a conversation we're having.
Mhm.
So it's a good point that that's something we could anticipate.
Yeah. Like, will your kids get some?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. And it
Yeah.
sits, they get it in these red Chinese envelopes and it sits in our like certain sections of our home for the year and collects dust. And that's it.
For how long does it collect
Like we
dust?
have so many just sitting around
It's so
with
funny
money in it
because I
still.
actually use that term a lot with clients
Mhm.
that just have the need to have cash sitting there collecting dust.
Yes,
And it
it
might be
is.
even a bank account, right? Even if it's in a bank account, it's collecting dust. It's not working for you, right?
Yeah. And it's not because we're trying to hold on to it. It's due to just a lack of doing anything, a lack of taking action
Mhm.
and actually putting it somewhere. And
Putting it to work.
yes, exactly. So what you're saying, Adam, is I should go home, empty those envelopes, and then
Do you
put
still have envelopes?
many, many.
So I mean that money is just going down in value, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, putting those into your like the kids' contributions right away
Yeah.
so that
So
it's
your kids
not.
have RESPs.
So we have RESPs for our kids, and we just are not great at regularly making the contributions that we should be.
Mhm.
We have hit some roadblocks in terms of just setting up the account that we want. It's just so it's just like it's been more complicated than it needs to be.
Okay.
And so I don't believe we're up to date on where we should be.
Okay. I mean, again, with accounts like that, any opportunity to automate these things
Okay.
is great, right?
Mhm.
So even doing auto contributions weekly,
Okay.
$30 a week,
Okay. So that
right?
you reach that max for the year.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And having an idea of what those numbers are, max per kid, understanding the rules, contribution rules, and limits around RESPs.
That's
Being
actually going to
clear
be
about
my
that.
number one takeaway from this conversation.
Okay. Laura, I don't know about you, but we've had issues in the past with having the kids feeling overwhelmed. Honestly, with the amount of stuff they get, us feeling
Yes.
overwhelmed.
Yes.
We think about what we think is reasonable for them to receive from our, but we don't really factor in extended family and some
Not at all.
grandparents that go overboard.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to maybe not just have a conversation as a couple, but also bring in that extended family, namely grandparents probably, and setting expectations for what's reasonable. If they have a certain amount that's higher that they'd like to allocate to the kids, maybe it's received in a contribution to their RESP or cash that the kids can save.
That's a really good point because it's a lot of the time we've been talking about having a conversation with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about anticipating the amount of money that might be coming in, but it's having a conversation with other, say, extended family members and actually thinking about what it is you want to bring into the household. And if they plan on buying tons of gifts, and then another extended family member does as well, right? It just all adds up and gets
Yeah,
stressful.
balloons.
And so how can you manage that so that it isn't so many items and just kind of, I'm not saying wasted money,
Mm-hmm.
but the money could be put to better use.
Yeah.
And I think some people may feel a little uncomfortable proposing money or monetary gifts instead of tangibles.
Yeah.
But I think when you frame it as an RESP contribution, then it looks like it's going to better use versus here is some money that they can spend at the dollar store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. And then it can also, again, just reduce the stress of all of the stuff that's coming into the household.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with all those points. I find we go through, for us, Christmas and Christmas Day with our family, we feel fine. But then all of a sudden we have the extended family and some grandparents go overboard. So each year, I think we need to revisit that and try to get aligned with some of those extended family members. So to be honest, you can have these conversations, but there's some family members that, might not hear you. And you just need to reiterate each year. I can talk about my mother-in-law in particular I think we've slowly had some positive impact in having conversations with her to pare it down.
Okay.
But I can give you an example that we've said kids should have one gift each, right? If you want. And usually then she'll give a check for an RESP contribution. Okay. But she'll do the RESP contribution, and her one gift is she will get the largest bag she can find, and she'll put 6 gifts into it, and it's one gift.
Strategic.
So the kids will just keep picking up presents, and we're just like, so yeah. So I mean, that's one example. All you can do is try, right?
That's right. You can't control the outcome, or you can't control how someone will actually take that information.
Yeah.
That's right. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can communicate as best as you can, but you can't, at the end of the day, you can't control what they're going to actually do.
That's right.
So we've talked about including the partner in the plan, extended family members, but there are some other individuals who we haven't included in the plan so far, which are our own kids. And that's something that my kids have never been a part of the process beyond their wish list and communicating to Alex and I what they want for the holidays in terms of gifts. And I've never communicated back like, these are the number of gifts we will be giving you, or this is the criteria. Because I have criteria in my head of like a big gift and then something that might be a book, clothing item, educational.
Yeah.
So I have my criteria. And so it might actually help to set the kids' expectations of coming up with a plan together and almost that criteria.
I don't know. It is tricky with kids. I mean, I don't know how much, depends on how much magic is still involved in the holiday. So those can be like tricky conversations, right?
It can be because I mean, in our household,
I mean, I think all you really can just like, make a wish list, and then you kind of comment, oh, that seems like a lot. I don't know. Comments to try to manage expectations, right?
But I think that they think we have endless sums of money, and whatever is going on that list is going to be purchased.
Yeah.
And so how can we set their expectations?
Yeah.
It's really by communicating that like, this is your list, but you will be getting X number of gifts from us and not feeling that pressure to spend all of the money on that list.
I feel like as the kids get older, the each thing they put on the list gets more expensive too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But when they were like little,
but a big box, it does mean everything to them.
Yeah.
Versus a small box.
Yeah.
In our household, we have, so Santa brings stocking stuffers. And so it's pretty much, he brings items that fit in the stocking.
Okay.
And so it's lower priced items. We do it so that if they were to go to school or they talk to their friends, Santa isn't spending a lot of money on them.
Yeah.
But the parents, that's a different story. We are giving a big item and that's our decision.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a tricky topic,
it is.
right? Because because each household does it a bit differently. They'll have friends that'll come and be like, "Oh, Santa got me this," and then your kids are going to be like, "My wife growing up, Santa's the only one that got them presents.
Okay.
Parents didn't get them presents at all. It was all from Santa."
Wow.
So
Yeah, every household is different.
I was a bit of a combination. So it's hard.
It
I'm
is
not
hard.
an expert on
No.
on this.
No. No. And I know
Not my
that
expertise.
it kind of takes away from the budgeting, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is if you're trying, and in our next episode that listeners will hear next week, we are talking about Christmas again.
Okay.
And the magic of Christmas.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's really, how do you want to feel at the end of Christmas? And how do you want your kids to feel?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want them, is it about tradition and connection and feeling joy?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, gifts are a part of it. But I know one thing is that my dad, he always tried to remind us that gifts are great, but the holidays are about something much bigger than gifts.
Yeah.
And we were kids and we're like, we still want our gifts.
Yeah.
But it's really trying to
build up those other areas, right? As kind of the key emphasis of the season.
Yes. So that they can enjoy the holidays beyond just the gifts that they got.
Yeah. Can I just add some other areas on like the reflection of the investment?
Yes, please.
Piece?
Yes.
So we touched on RESPs. I think also, if you're having these conversations about transitioning to the new year, spending allocations, savings allocations, I find a lot of people, it's a good time to maybe check in on contribution room, right? A lot of people don't really know. They'll wait to get their tax filing from their accountant, but you can actually phone the CRA anytime, and there's a phone number, and you're not waiting online to find someone. You can put your social insurance number in, birthday, and you can get your precise TFSA contribution room and RSP contribution room.
Okay.
So you're clear kind of where you're at, right?
That's very handy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it might be a good time to just check in on that.
Yeah, we should all be doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get that number.
Yeah.
So we'll link it in this episode so that it's easily accessible for listeners.
Yeah.
So it's November now. So this really is the perfect time. We've all listened to this episode. Set a date if you have a partner, set a date with your partner to take action and start the budgeting so that we don't get carried away during the holiday season. And at the end of the season, we can feel the way we want to feel and not deal with that holiday spending hangover.
Again, yeah, exactly. It's a great time. Sit down with your family members, your partner in particular. Look back on what you've budgeted in your financial plan, so you can feel confident going into this kind of high spending season. That it's just one line item in the bigger picture. Don't get overwhelmed, but don't get intentional with how you want to approach it, so you don't overspend. You don't have that holiday hangover. Want to avoid that.
Adam, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back. Also, just want to mention a lot of these conversations can be tricky for some couples. Having a financial planner or financial advisor that you're working with, you're having conversations with, it's a great time to maybe have a check-in meeting with them and to go over your plan, go over your spending budget, go over your saving allocations.
And Adam, how can people get in touch with you?
The best way is to reach me via email, and we can set up a time to have an intro call. Email is adam@rivers-wealth.com.
And we will link it here as well.
Awesome.
Thanks, Adam.
All right. Thank you.